Will Levi Ackerman survive the Attack on Titan finale? So what's up guys, Foxen here. Let's be honest, Levi has seen better days. Levi has always been that overpowered character in Attack on Titan, but recently Isayama decided to finally nerf Levi, potentially taking him out too in the process. Like you've heard in my prediction and discussion videos, I do have my own issues with how Isayama has gone about this, but let's see how this plays out. Putting that aside, let's get to today's hot topic and Attack on Titan question. Will Levi survive this whole aftermath from the Beast Titan's explosive decision? In other words, does Levi have any chance of opening up his own tea shop one day? By the way, be sure to give a close thumbs up and subscribe. More Attack on Titan and anime videos coming, especially with Attack on Titan Season 3 coming back soon. So let's get started. Going back a few chapters, Levi, for whatever reason, thought it was a good idea to stick this thunder spear up Zeke's ass. Not literally, but really a fully functional one. One where if you have a slight movement by Zeke, it would have instantly made this Beast Titan baby in the near future. Was Levi just being that irrational because he was that pissed off? Specifically about Zeke taking out more of his scout buddies. Shortly after, Zeke ended up saying screw it and pulled the trigger. At this point, Zeke really pulled off this Titan recovery that would make Reiner's plot armor Titan dripping wet with jealousy. Eventually, Hanji ended up finding this half-dead Levi, questionable condition. So now we get into the juicy topic that comes up. How likely is it that Levi actually dies from this wound? And if Levi somehow survives this, was this really all a play from Isayama to weaken Levi Ackerman, for Levi to die in the Attack on Titan finale? Let's go ahead and look at this whole Levi condition situation. As of now, you got Levi's face, it's all sliced up. That'll leave a nice scar. New Levi figure potential, by the way. Then for Levi's face overall, ouch. As if the incoming scar wasn't enough, you got this wooden shrapnel pieces all over his chin and to the middle right of his face. Of course, all these wooden shards are coming from that exploding wagon. At the very least, Levi wasn't like the stallion's family, cause really it's glue time over there for those guys. But do notice, somehow these horses took massive shrapnel damage despite Levi being much closer to the self-destructing Zeke. Wait a second. Keep this in mind, I'll come back to it. As for the other Levi injuries, you already have been confirmed missing 2 fingers. Just imagining the force that would cause that, his whole hand might be busted too. Isayama's just gonna make you wait to find out the full extent of this injury. And honestly, I'll be surprised if Levi could still use that hand no problem. That's despite Levi's unique blade technique. By the way, I should point out that Levi does in fact have both of his legs. You could clearly see there's no issue here from the shot of the sleeping Levi by the river. I don't even see any possible damage to his boots. This is definitely important. The major thing that ultimately determines how screwed Levi is ultimately comes down to Hanji's Titan killing technology, the Thunder Spear. You should notice that this should be an updated version from 4 years back. Turning back the clock, the Thunder Spear was originally introduced in Attack on Titan chapter 76, at least a flashback to it. This was originally made by Hanji with the hopes of them being able to penetrate Reiner's super hard armor plating from the Armor Titan. You know, since Hanji and friends were really only able to watch from the sideline during that Eren vs Reiner matchup. From the Attack on Titan so far, there are a few important examples you should take note of when the Thunder Spears were used. Example number 1, that Hanji flashback. Hanji presumably stuck the Thunder Spear to the tree instead of firing it for this little experiment. To be honest, it is hard to tell the exact measurements, but Hanji appears to be awfully very close to that tree. What is that, 3 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet? Around 3 meters or so? You do get 2 different views of this. It still seems awfully close. Keep in mind, Hanji did make the Thunder Spears with that string trigger mechanism, hence why Hanji would have had to be in this close. Although I guess Hanji could have made this longer for this experiment, but then that's not Hanji's style. From this experiment, you got 2 important key things to notice. First off is the damage to the tree. Turns out Hanji named the Thunder Spear as well, since it looks like the damage is pretty key and centered to that single point. It's not like the Thunder Spear went off and caused this massive explosion. Instead, it was pretty concentrated to that one spot. This was likely done on purpose by Hanji just to increase the penetrating damage when fighting Titans, notably Reiner's Armor Titan. The second key thing, notice the shrapnel. You can see pieces of that tree stuck to that wooden shield Hanji hid behind, smaller pieces too. The key thing to notice here is actually the other people. The other scouts aren't behind any type of shielding, despite the dangers from the shrapnel existing. In other words, there is this known safe zone from the blast effect. Once again, it is hard to tell exactly how far back the scouts are, but they do appear to be around half of Hanji's size. The scouts being 2 to 3 times further back compared to Hanji is a good estimate, I think. Next up, the second Thunder Spear example, using it on Reiner's ass. Both Mikasa and Hanji use it to penetrate the armor's ball sockets. Then notice how they flew right next to Reiner's face as they set off the explosion. Once again, this goes back to what I mentioned about there being the safe zone from the blast. Even if there's no set radius around the blast, the scouts naturally reduce the risk of those negative blast effects by being quick. Next up, the third Thunder Spear example, the Stallion versus Peak. In the recent attack on Marley, you had the Stallion going in for the Thunder Spear kill. Two different important things to notice here. The first is right when the Stallion launched the Thunder Spear. Assuming there's no delay in that explosion part, that was a very close distance to be from the impact target. Either you're totally fine within that explosion range, or you got about 1 or 2 seconds to haul your ass out of there, that being for the Stallion. Then the second key thing from this was Falco. Falco was right next to that Thunder Spear blast. You really only had the Card Titan head that was a wall between the blast, and Falco turned out to be completely fine. So what does this tell us? Really just another example about how the explosion and destruction points are very limited and concentrated. So what's the conclusion from all of these examples? I think you might be seeing where I'm getting at. Ultimately, this becomes the reason why I bring this up. This seems to confirm one of my suspicions that would work in favor for Levi, which comes down to two key things for the Thunder Spears. The first being the blast. The explosion's damage or blast area is very limited and has a very precise range. Thinking back to Hanji's little experiments, as well as the various times that the scouts used them showed that there was a safe zone or less impact zone. The actual damage radius seems to be very small. And the second key thing, the actual explosion part. There is some type of delay. Whatever this delay is almost definitely longer for the Thunder Spear used in mode 2, which is with the trigger mechanism. From this, you might be wondering, what do I mean by the Thunder Spear mode? Here's a couple things you should keep in mind. You did see the Servitor use this upgraded and updated Thunder Spear version 2.0 in the attack on Marley. Hell, Mikasa was spamming plenty of them into the Warhammer Titan. Keep in mind from the Thunder Spears Mikasa used, she showed off two different modes. One of the Thunder Spear modes is actually this new functionality, which is really just to fire the Thunder Spear as a rocket and then have it explode on impact. If you look throughout the attack on Marley, this is what the scouts used throughout the battle. This is especially true when they were trying to roast the Card Titan. Then the second Thunder Spear mode, which is really what the Thunder Spear originally did, before the time skip. You saw Mikasa fire several of them into the Warhammer Titan's neck. However, none of them exploded. For this, it was hard to tell if you read this quickly, but if you look closely, you can actually see the string trigger mechanism for the 7 Thunder Spears. Mikasa's even seen pulling them as she jumps over the Warhammer Titan. When I saw this, I was actually surprised that the trigger system was still around. I guess it has its uses. Anyway, now back to Levi. Recall the Thunder Spear that Levi shoved Zeke's ass? This was actually not one of the new ones. Or if it was, this was obviously a Thunder Spear with a trigger mechanism. Keep in mind, you did see Levi use this exact new updated Thunder Spear on Zeke twice. The first time was versus the Beast Titan Levi beatdown. Zeke literally took 4 Thunder Spears up close and personal. The result? A very crispy Deadpool looking Zeke. Still, despite being that close to the blast and it being 4 Thunder Spears, Zeke's body was still mostly intact, only arm is missing. Maybe some guts too. From this, perhaps some of the Beast Titan tissue and blubber took some of the impact and reduced it. Then the second example, the human Zeke explosion. This time the Thunder Spear was penetrating deep inside of his stomach area. Most important was the actual tip of the spear, which is the explosion point. Also just notice how close that point is to the wooden cart, since Zeke is lying down. Considering that the previous Beast Titan explosion may have been reduced from the body tissue, I wouldn't be surprised if the explosion being set off inside of Zeke's stomach caused a similar effect. This actually makes me think back to examples of soldiers or other selfless individuals who've jumped on grenades in the past to shield others from the explosion. Naturally, this would have been fatal, but they would have succeeded in saving their buddies. Next up, the final piece of this puzzle, which actually comes from various examples in the anime, which is how far and how fast can you travel using the 3D maneuver gear. Naturally, it is extremely hard to tell, partially since it does involve anime physics for the Attack on Titan world. I'll just mention that there actually have been multiple videos and articles done about this for years. All of those have given some sort of estimates. I'll go ahead and post a go link down below. Some of these estimates range from 8 meters to 25 meters per second, and this was really just using Eren as an estimate point from the Attack on Titan Season 1. On the other hand, we are talking about Levi Ackerman here. You know how fast this guy is, to potentially just double or triple that speed even further. At this point, keep in mind Levi is also using the updated 3D maneuver gear too. Next up, let's go ahead and put all of this together. What exactly happened to Levi? A desperate Zeke finally had enough of being shaved up like a turkey by Levi Ackerman. Zeke said screw it, damn your sushi skills, and yelled out Tom's name. Levi, just being Levi and the Tau Ackerman, immediately noticed something was off from Zeke's random howl. He could see it in his eyes. Combined with the superhuman Ackerman instinct, Levi instantly triggered his updated 3D maneuver gear and jumped back fast. A split second later, the string was ripped by Zeke, but not without putting a bit of an effort in. The explosion was then set in motion. 0.1 second, it was heating up. 0.2 seconds, 0.3 seconds, boom. Thankfully, due to the explosive being buried deep inside of Zeke's soft body, the limited precise explosion radius was reduced further. This led to Zeke and Titan human body parts all over the place, along with steam from this stuff. Unfortunately, this did mean Levi's body being drenched in Zeke's juices. Mid-air, Levi was able to put some distance between him and Zeke's explosion. Even if you take the worst estimates being 0.1 or 0.2 seconds, that should have put Levi at minimum 3 to 5 meters away, which is around the safe zone from Hanji's experiments. Unfortunately, that position of the blade took some of the force of the explosion. This led to the blade being shattered, and then some of those blade pieces and wood shrapnel slicing Levi's face. And also don't forget about those fingers being torn off with the handle. Levi then barely missed the water, landing face front into the ground. Ultimately, this does mean a new scarred Levi figure coming up. Something else you should keep in mind were the horses, who were only a few feet away from this. They would have been fine otherwise, and maybe not being turned into glue, if only the explosion shrapnel wasn't a factor. Just notice how huge those wooden shrapnel pieces are. Then compare it to Levi, specifically Levi's face, who got small little chunks. This really helps to prove further that Levi was definitely able to put at least some distance from himself and Zeke before boom time. Ultimately, what this means at the end of the day is that Levi didn't take the full force of that explosion, thankfully. You now might be wondering what comes next for Levi, which now gets into Attack on Titan theory prediction time. At this point, it's pretty clear that Isayama did this as a way of dealing with the overpowered Levi. If there is no short time skip, Levi is either going to have to skip out in the Attack on Titan finale battle, or go into the final battle all injured, broken down, and pretty much not at 100%. As of the latest Attack on Titan chapter 116, Isayama didn't show off Levi's condition at all. It's almost definitely he'll be sitting out this showdown with the Eren vs Marley troops. Right now, it is confirmed that Levi does have both legs. Levi is confirmed to be out 2 fingers. I wouldn't be surprised if Levi lost either partial usage or complete usage of that hand where the 2 fingers were cut. And let me just mention, I would have complete faith that Hanji would be able to cook something up, but the problem right now is time. Does Hanji have enough time to tinker around? I'm not even sure that Hanji has a place available to work on stuff. A place that is not swarming with Eren worshippers. Also, how about the other injuries? I got a feeling that Levi's going to be able to recover at least to the point where he could use his 3D maneuver gear again. However, Levi's never going to be at 100% again. No more Levi in God mode. Do notice all those wood fragments impacting his body. Notably, Levi got this very deep slice down his freaking face. And this is something I'm not seeing anyone bringing up. This might be another important and destructive injury for Levi, which is Levi either losing an eye completely, or Levi's sight now holding him back in the upcoming battle. I know some of you are going to say, hey, Hanji turned out fine, but Hanji isn't really out on the front lines anymore. In comparison, Levi definitely will want to be up in front, especially for anything involving Zeke and now Eren. The Yeager brothers gotta go. Ultimately, all of this boils down to Isayama finally pulling the trigger. Levi was obviously one character he made who was too overpowered. This was made even more apparent with Eren Yeager's Ackerman explanation. Isayama now pulled this little stunt to take Levi off the chessboard, or to depower him enough. I'll just mention that I'm definitely not a fan with how Isayama is dealing with Levi, but unfortunately you all can't do anything but wait to see how this turns out. Hopefully it'll be for the best. Now the waiting game begins. Will Levi be back for the Attack on Titan finale? Honestly, I really don't see how Levi wouldn't be out for at least a few days or a week minimum. And that'll be your question of the day. Do you see how Levi walks out of this explosion now? Would you like Levi to make a full recovery for the finale? And do you think Isayama just depowered Levi for him to die in the finale? What do you personally want to happen to Levi in the Attack on Titan finale? Should he be killed off? Or how about the T-Shop option? Anyway, be sure to give this a colossal thumbs up and subscribe. More juicy Attack on Titan and anime videos weekly. Check out my recent Attack on Titan Chapter 116 video and follow-up discussion videos. Is the final Attack on Titan battle beginning? Be sure to set up bell notifications so YouTube actually sends you my videos, and I'll see you guys later.